Cathy Engelbert is out, and Adam Silver made sure it was loud enough for everyone to hear. In a stunning, unprecedented move, the NBA commissioner stepped in and fired the head of the WNBA, ripping the lid off a growing crisis that had been quietly building beneath the surface for months. The spark? Engelbert's dismissive treatment of Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest breakout star and its most valuable financial asset.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Clark's impact on the WNBA has been impossible to ignore. She's brought millions of eyeballs to a league that desperately needed a spotlight. And with her Came sponsorships, sold-out games, and mainstream media buzz the WNBA hasn't seen in years. But instead of embracing the moment, Engelbert downplayed Clark's influence and defended the league's increasingly aggressive and inconsistent officiating, despite Clark becoming a target on the court. The result was a pressure cooker of bad optics, player frustration, and fan outrage. Clark's presence had reignited national interest, but Engelbert's leadership made it clear the league wasn't built to support a superstar, let alone protect one. It wasn't just tone-deaf, it was dangerous for the future of the league. And Adam Silver, watching the WNBA stumble under poor leadership, made a decisive call to clean house before things spiraled out of control. Engelbert's comments didn't land in a vacuum. They landed on a league already plagued with credibility issues. From officiating disasters to public rifts between players and executives, trust in the league's governance had been crumbling. Her statement that the WNBA had the best refs in the world didn't just fall flat. It became a meme of delusion. Meanwhile, Clark was being shoved, ignored by officials, and left to fend for herself while the league's most powerful figure shrugged it all off like business as usual. Silver's firing of Engelbert wasn't just a response to one bad interview. It was a full-blown course correction. The WNBA had something it hasn't had in decades: momentum, and the person in charge was actively squandering it. Engelbert underestimated how much the league now relies on Clark, not just for basketball success, but for survival. She was playing checkers while Silver, clearly, was playing chess. With Engelbert gone, a clear message has been sent. This league needs to grow up fast. No more pretending things are fine. No more ignoring the power of star players. And definitely no more downplaying the one person keeping the league in the spotlight. The WNBA was already on the edge, and Cathy Engelbert's leadership just gave a push. Adam Silver just did what no one saw coming. He fired Cathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, in a stunning move that sent shockwaves through both leagues. The reason? Her comments about Caitlin Clark. Yes, the same Caitlin Clark who's become the undisputed centerpiece of the WNBA's rise in popularity. Engelbert didn't just miss the mark. She publicly downplayed the league's biggest asset during a time when every bit of growth is hanging on Clark's back. That one decision cracked open every issue festering inside the WNBA, and Silver wasn't about to let slide. Let's be clear, this wasn't about a single bad interview. This was a leadership collapse years in the making. Engelbert's ousting wasn't spontaneous. It was the culmination of mounting frustration from players, coaches, fans, and now the NBA itself. Clark's arrival didn't just bring a new wave of attention. It exposed how ill-prepared league leadership was for handling the spotlight. Every time she stepped onto the court, the stakes grew higher. More people watched. More media tuned in. More expectations piled up. And what did they get in return from Engelbert? A commissioner who was more focused on controlling the narrative than addressing the real problems. Broken communication with players, sloppy officiating, and a complete failure to protect the league's most valuable investment. Let's talk about that officiating. Games have spiraled into chaos. Missed calls, dangerous levels of physicality, a clear lack of accountability. When fans and players raised the alarm, Engelbert responded with this: "We have the best refs in the world." That quote instantly became symbolic of the disconnect between league leadership and the reality on the floor. Viewers weren't making things up. Players were being hit hard, and calls weren't being made. And no one was doing anything about it. It was bad enough when fans were frustrated. But when coaches and players began criticizing officiating publicly, and still Engelbert wouldn't budge, that was the breaking point, especially when Caitlin Clark started taking visible, dangerous hits during nationally televised games with little to no protection. Clark isn't just another player. Her presence is why the WNBA is seeing the best ratings in years, why arenas are selling out, why new sponsors are lining up. She is, plain and simple, the league's golden goose. And Engelbert treated her like a PR headache. She minimized her influence, shrugged off concerns about safety, and underestimated just how high the stakes had become. That's not just poor judgment. That's a direct threat to the league's financial health. So Adam Silver stepped in. Because when one of your major properties is at risk of imploding due to ego and incompetence at the top, you don't wait for it to get worse. You act. Engelbert wasn't just replaced because of what she said about Clark. She was replaced because her leadership failures were dragging down the very momentum Clark had built. Let's not pretend this is just about optics. This is about money, about business, about survival. The WNBA's newfound attention is directly tied to one person, and Silver knows it. Without Clark, ratings fall off a cliff. Attendance dips, media attention dries up, and sponsorship interest? Gone. Engelbert gambled that she could preserve the league's balance without making one player too central. But in doing so, she alienated fans, ignored reality, and put the entire league at risk. The backlash didn't take long. Fans were vocal. Social media was relentless. Even neutral observers called out the obvious hostility Clark was facing on the court. It wasn't just physical, it was systemic. Refs weren't protecting her. Leadership wasn't acknowledging it. And the few times it was addressed, it came with spin and denial. Engelbert's role was to lead through that chaos. Instead, she fanned the flames. The disconnect between the front office and the athletes has never been more apparent. Players have openly voiced frustrations with communication, trust, and visibility from leadership. Coaches have gone on record criticizing officiating and inconsistency. And fans? They're done being gaslit. They saw Clark being treated differently. They saw the league pretend it wasn't happening. And they stopped buying what the league was selling. This wasn't just a bad moment. It was a full-blown credibility crisis. And that's the real reason Silver acted. Because when trust erodes, everything collapses. Your product, your partnerships, your path forward. Engelbert's leadership had lost the locker room, the fan base, and now, the people writing the checks. She had to go. But firing Engelbert is just the beginning. The next commissioner has one of the toughest jobs in sports right now. They have to immediately repair player relationships, clean up the officiating, and rebuild the trust that's been lost. No vague statements. No defensive press tours. Just actual reform. First order of business? Officiating. It's been the Achilles heel of the WNBA this season, and it's affecting every aspect of the game. Players don't feel safe. Coaches can't predict what's going to get called. Fans see the inconsistency in real time, and it's making the league look amateur. For all the talent on the floor, it means nothing if the officiating undermines it. Second, protect your stars. This isn't just about Clark. It's about creating a system where every player feels supported, heard, and safe. Right now, the league is seen as reactive, not proactive. The new commissioner needs to flip that script fast. Third, be transparent. That doesn't mean throwing out corporate buzzwords. It means showing up, listening, responding, and holding people accountable when things go wrong. Because here's the truth. Caitlin Clark isn't the WNBA's problem. She's the opportunity. And until now, leadership treated her like a threat to the league's balance instead of the foundation for its future. That strategy failed. It alienated fans. It drove a wedge between players and executives. And it created a public perception that the WNBA doesn't know how to handle success. Adam Silver just pressed the reset button. The question is, will the league actually change? Because if it doesn't, the consequences won't be subtle. Ratings will drop. Fans will walk. And Clark, along with any other star player, may start questioning why they're putting their bodies on the line for a league that doesn't seem to have their back. This could be a turning point, the kind that redefines what the WNBA stands for. Will it be the league that embraces growth, listens to its players, and prioritizes integrity? Or will it keep chasing parity at the expense of progress? Cathy Engelbert picked the wrong answer. She bet on status quo and lost. Adam Silver made it clear, when leadership puts the brand ahead of the players, everyone loses. So now it's your turn. Was Engelbert's firing justified? Should Caitlin Clark be protected more aggressively by the league? Or is the WNBA caught between growth and resentment? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe for more straight-up chaos, power plays, and behind-the-scenes meltdowns that keep the sports world spinning. Because if this season's any indication, this story is just getting started. For years, the WNBA has lived in the shadows of the NBA, fighting for legitimacy, attention, and respect. That fight has always been uphill. And in many ways, Engelbert was brought in as a stabilizer, a corporate face to manage the league, bring in partnerships, and polish the brand. But when Caitlin Clark entered the league, everything shifted. What the WNBA needed wasn't a manager. It needed a visionary. Someone who could understand that when the sports world gives you a generational lightning rod, you build around it. Instead, Engelbert played defense. She stuck to safe talking points, tried to appease everyone, and treated Clark's explosion of attention like an anomaly instead of an opportunity. That caution, that unwillingness to pivot, to adapt, turned into resentment from every direction. Let's not gloss over it. Engelbert's comments about Clark were not just tone-deaf. They were emblematic of a leadership culture that's become so obsessed with protecting institutional equity that it failed to invest in individual excellence. And it backfired, because here's what they didn't get. The fans weren't just tuning in for basketball. They were showing up for her. The story, the hype, the fire, the spectacle. This isn't about meritocracy. It's about momentum. And every single time Clark was belittled, shoved to the ground, or brushed off by the league's top executive, it chipped away at that momentum. Engelbert's refusal to take ownership of the officiating issues was the match that lit the fuse. You can't have your most watched player visibly assaulted game after game while refs swallow their whistles, and then go to the media and say, we have the best officials in the world. You just can't. It defies logic. It insults fans' intelligence. And it tells players, your safety, your careers, your literal bodies come second to the league's image. That's why Silver had to act. He couldn't let this spiral any further. The league wasn't just suffering internally. It was hemorrhaging credibility. And in the sports business, credibility is currency. Once fans start questioning fairness, consistency, and integrity, the entire product collapses. It becomes entertainment without stakes, a drama without direction. That's what Engelbert failed to see. This wasn't about being pro-Clark or pro-veteran. It was about being pro-league. You either elevate the players that elevate your brand, or you watch the brand fade out. Engelbert's refusal to pivot made her a liability. And then there's the locker room dynamic. Leadership in pro sports is a balancing act between supporting stars and maintaining harmony. But harmony isn't sameness. Clark's rapid rise naturally disrupted the status quo. That's not her fault. That's the price of progress. A real leader anticipates that tension and works through it. Engelbert ignored it, then downplayed it, then fueled it. The division only grew. Players started clapping back in press conferences. Fans split into factions. And through it all, Engelbert's strategy was to act like everything was fine, as if the league could continue growing by keeping everything exactly the same. That doesn't work, especially not now. The WNBA is not some niche side project anymore. The lights are on, the pressure is real, and the world is watching. That's what makes this so frustrating. The WNBA was finally at a breakthrough moment. Not a slow and steady build, but a spike, a cultural flashpoint. But instead of leaning in, Engelbert tightened her grip. She tried to control the message instead of owning the movement. And that resistance cost her everything. Let's be clear, this isn't just about Caitlin Clark being fouled or fouled hard. This is about what the league represents. Do you value the people driving your success? Do you adapt when new talent demand a new approach? Do you protect your future, even if it challenges your past? Engelbert answered no to all of that. So Silver answered with a pink slip. Now, the WNBA has a blank slate, but also a mountain to climb. There is no room for performative leadership now. The next commissioner has to confront the problems Engelbert buried. That starts with the officiating. Not statements. Not panel discussions. Actual reforms. Full-time refs. Better training. Review systems with teeth. Players need to know that when they step onto the court, they're not gambling with their health. And that has to happen fast. Because every game Clark plays where she's targeted without protection is another headline. Another social media firestorm. Another reason for fans to turn away. The longer it takes to course correct, the more goodwill slips away. Next, player relationships. Trust is broken, not just between Clark and the league, but among the athletes themselves. Veteran players feel disrespected. New stars feel unprotected. Fans feel pitted against each other. And all of that tension stems from one thing: leadership that refuses to listen. The next commissioner can't be above the fray. They need to be in it, visiting locker rooms, talking to players, owning mistakes in public, setting a new tone, one that says, we value every athlete here, but we also understand when it's time to build around the ones who move the needle. And that's the truth a lot of folks don't want to say out loud. Star power drives leagues. Period. The NBA didn't become a global phenomenon by pretending Michael Jordan was just another guy. The WNBA has to learn from that. Caitlin Clark isn't a threat to the league's values. She's the living proof that the product can scale fast. This isn't about picking favorites. It's about recognizing gravity. Clark brings eyeballs. She brings sponsors. She brings new fans who weren't watching before. And any league that fails to nurture that kind of star is failing everyone. Engelbert forgot that. She thought she could PR her way through a full-blown reckoning. But the audience had already moved on. They wanted action. They wanted accountability. They wanted someone to stand up and say, we messed up and we're fixing it. She couldn't do that. So Silver did what she wouldn't. Now comes the real test. Will the WNBA finally put its players first? Not just in slogans, but in structure? Will the officiating reflect the level of professionalism the league claims to embody? Will stars like Caitlin Clark be elevated, not minimized? Because there's no going back. The audience is here. The money is on the table. And the pressure has never been higher. One more misstep, and this opportunity gets lost in the noise. So let's recap. Cathy Engelbert lost her job because she failed to protect her players, failed to adapt to a new era, and failed to recognize that treating Caitlin Clark like a threat instead of a gift was a strategic disaster. Adam Silver didn't fire her to make headlines. He did it to keep the league from slipping off the edge. The message couldn't be clearer. Protect your stars, fix your structure, or get out of the way. And now, it's your turn to weigh in. Was Cathy Engelbert just a scapegoat, or did her own missteps justify the firing? Is Caitlin Clark being unfairly targeted, or is the league simply struggling with its own growing pains? And what should the WNBA prioritize right now? Reforming officiating, repairing player trust, or reshaping the way it handles fame? Drop your takes in the comments. Let rip. And make sure you're subscribed for more meltdowns, leadership shakeups, and sports drama that makes the scoreboard look like background noise. Because if the WNBA doesn't change now, this won't be its last crisis. It'll just be the first one it couldn't come back from. This wasn't a graceful exit. This was a forced hand, a necessary purge. Cathy Engelbert didn't quietly retire. She was removed, yanked from her seat at the top, because the league couldn't afford her brand of corporate detachment any longer. The game had changed, and she couldn't keep up. Not with the spotlight this hot. Not with the stakes this high. Not when Caitlin Clark had become the reason people were even talking about the WNBA outside of niche circles. Because here's the blunt truth. This league doesn't have the luxury of letting its top asset get flattened on national television while leadership issues press releases full of fluff and denial. Clark isn't just a player. She's a business, a movement, a walking, shooting investment, and one bad fall, one more no call, one more tone-deaf quote from the top, and the whole thing could collapse. The resentment Engelbert stirred up didn't come from nowhere. It built over time, from players feeling dismissed, from fans being patronized, From a commissioner who, when asked about growing concerns, defaulted to spin instead of solutions. And the Clark controversy? That wasn't the first straw. It was the final one. The moment fans realized the league they were finally investing in didn't even seem to know what it had. Engelbert wasn't punished for speaking about Caitlin Clark. She was fired for undermining her at the worst possible time. For treating the league's most visible star like a distraction instead of the engine. That's a catastrophic misread in any business, but in sports, it's career-ending. Now it's rebuild time. The WNBA doesn't just need a new commissioner. It needs a full cultural reset, one that starts with listening to players, to fans, to the people watching from the sidelines thinking, I want to care about this league, but not if this is how they treat their stars. The next steps are critical. Get the officiating under control. Make the rules clear. Enforce them consistently. Stop pretending controversy is just part of the game and actually protect the players who are making people tune in. Then, build a system that welcomes star power instead of running from it. You want a league that grows? You need stars who feel safe, supported, and celebrated. Caitlin Clark won't carry this league forever. But right now, she's the bridge between niche and mainstream. The face of a new era. And the league better start acting like it knows what it has. Because the next commissioner won't have the grace period Engelbert wasted. They'll have one job from day one. Don't blow it. What do you think? Was Engelbert's firing overdue? Is the league finally listening or just trying to save face? Let's talk in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered breakdowns, sports power plays, and the moments that shake leagues to their core. Because in pro sports, silence isn't strength, it's failure. And this time, the silence got someone fired.